All right, guys, good morning. Happy Fire Friday. It is May 24th. Believe it or not, the year is cranking through. We've had some amazing guests on so far this year already. You guys are in for a rare treat. We have dragged some guests in from the Great White North. And a couple that Kristen and I have really enjoyed getting to know over the years. Interestingly enough, we usually just see each other in Cabo.
Yeah.
So, we go to
Or
Mexico
Puerto
to meet
Rico.
up, right?
Yeah.
So, we have some folks here that have been with the company. Gosh, what has it been? Six years?
Yeah, it'll be 6 years in November.
There you go. So 6 years. So early adopters. It was before the big boom, and the kind of everybody. It was back still EXP who, and so some of the top influencers in the company, and they've been instrumental in helping to grow the company, not just in Canada, but all over the place, all over the place. So super exciting. The top producing agents, right? So entrenched in the business, super successful, all over the place, residential, commercial, you name it, investing, everything, all the things. And really, I know, Simone, you have been, tapped to be on stage for a whole bunch of different things and to be speaking because of not only the success that you've had, but how you've poured into others and helped duplicate that, right? I mean, the real leaders to me create additional leaders, right? And they help others achieve that kind of success. So it's been fun to see you pouring into people like that. So I'm gonna turn it over to you guys, and we're gonna get started. But guys, Simone and Pablo are phenomenal. So get your pens out or get ready to take some notes or whatever it is, because I'm excited to hear what you guys got to share. Thank you,
Awesome.
thank you for getting up early and coming to hang with us on Fire Friday.
Yeah, thanks. Well, Pablo and I mean, we're just delighted to be here, and hopefully we can provide some value to all of you. But Dave and Kristen, I just want to acknowledge both of you first, because Dave, when you came into the company, into EXP, and took on the position of president, you were the reason why so many of us were able to start to really grow. And with the support, I know that Kristen was always behind the scenes there. And without your leadership and creating all the structures you did with all the groups and all the things, the biggest thing you did for me personally, I got to say it, is that you made me feel so important. And even though I was way up here up north, you have this knack of making people feel important. So thank you for that. It was a big deal. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
I was just excited to get to know you. So
Yeah. So here we are. We're sitting just outside Vancouver, Canada, which for my American friends is about 2 hours north of Seattle. And Pablo and I have lived a life of EXP for the last 5.5 years. And it's been a complete ride. And I was actually speaking to someone yesterday, and I said, the cliche, pinch me, because I had no idea in the fall of 2018, when I was still at Remax, that our lives would turn into something like this. And the money aside, the money's fun that we all get to earn or have an opportunity to earn from rev share and stock and all that great stuff and commission sales and all of it. But our lives, the way our families have been able to live and our own personal lives, is off the charts awesome. And it's really attributed to taking a risk, jumping into EXP, and then going all in on the structures that EXP has for us. So maybe I'll pass on to Pablo, and he can share a little bit about our story. And yeah, it's pretty fun.
awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't really deserve to say much because I'm just the guy. I should sit behind her over here because I'm kind of just the guy behind the lady who does everything. She's amazing. We spent years selling, of course, like most people do in real estate, and we were successful, quote unquote, selling over 100 homes a year in our peak years. And I think in our top year in selling, we did like 1.6 million in commissions, and we thought that was it. We thought that was the goal in life is to make more. And I remember our next, I remember very distinctly, I was watching Suits, if you remember that TV show Suits with the lawyers and Harvey Specter and all this. And so I cut out a picture of Harvey Specter in his suit because you would never have seen me outside of a suit in those days. And I wrote the goal 2 million. I said our goal next year is going to be to do 2 million. And that year, that was 2015, late 2015, the oil market collapsed in Alberta. Mark knows about this, I'm sure. And it was a horrible year in real estate. We worked twice as hard. We made half as much. We made $880,000 that year in commissions, and that was a huge failure for us. Where for most people that would be a huge success, and that was really, that was probably the first big life change. It was like, why am I working twice as hard for half? And then we, struggling, looking for answers, looking for solutions. Okay, we just got to work harder, and we're old Mike Ferry trained agents. So it's like, don't let the market dictate your results. And we pushed harder and harder and harder until I know I experienced burnout. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced burnout, but it sucks. You just feel like you just kind of spiral into a world of little bit of a depression and not feeling great about yourself and your efforts and your life and everything else. When EXP came along, it was, oh my gosh, here we go, a whole new thing, talking to agents, doing some recruiting, adding more systems, changing things. Can we do this? Questions. It has been, like Simone said, life-changing. Our life has completely flipped 180 degrees. We've never been happier.
That's awesome. So here, let me throw this on here. If I can find a cursor, that would be super helpful. There we go. Hey guys. So talk to us about that transition, and then I also want to hear about like how it's life-changing, right? But the transition, you find EXP and you go, okay, this is something that's new. There's a new opportunity to what we're doing, right? So now we can talk to agents, right? So we all say, you can list a house, you get paid once, list an agent, you get paid for a lifetime, right? It's a slightly different approach. Sounds great, but how did you guys get into? Because you've been successful, but then you had to start somewhere where you probably hit a couple of brick walls. So talk to us about those early days and how did you pivot?
What we did was we took exactly the way we operated in real estate and we thought we'll just apply it to this new thing. And we looked at creating our revenue share organization like a business. And the bonus, though, that I didn't see at the time, because again, we were just really business oriented. And I have to touch on what Pablo said. Our lives from the outside, back when we were in sales, looked awesome. I mean, from the outside looking in, people were like, oh, there's the power couple, they're successful. It was a hot mess behind the scenes. And it was like no time, no joy. Like there was no passion behind what we were doing. And when we saw this new opportunity, again, it was always about what could we get from it. We were operating in what's in it for me. And, I hate to admit it now, I guess I can after the fact, but what ended up happening with revenue share was it started as what can we get from this? And in a really miraculous way, it turned into, oh, so actually the more people we can help and support, the more that will just come back to us. Well, I've heard this cliche, but it's like, wow, this is actually real. Yeah. So we were able to take our business skills and add it to the whole people component. And then the buckets started to get filled in our lives of love and joy. And it sounds so cheesy, and you would never hear me talk like this back in 2013 and 2014. Like I would just never, this is not who I was. So it literally changed. I know who I am. Yeah. And I know for Pablo as well, not just who we are for ourselves, but who we are, I think, in the world, as nice as that sounds. I was going to say stupid, but as nice as that sounds.
That sounds, it's the endorphin rush, right? I mean, like when you help people, it's like, oh, they're, I mean, it's a real scientific thing, right? And And it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. And if you haven't had that, it's like your body craving a certain vitamin, and and then all of a sudden you get some and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got this like boost of energy that just rushed through me. Like I didn't even realize I was missing this. Right. If you're,
Yeah.
whatever it is, you're like, oh, this vitamin, I'm iron deficient, right? And I'm just lethargic and whatever. And then I get some, and then I'm all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I didn't even know I could feel this.
Totally. It's a new drug. We used to be addicted to the deal, and there is a certain high, of course, that comes as a realtor. We all know that when you sell a house and you get that, like, yes, I mean, that feels so good, and now when we mentor an agent and we see them do their first deal, I get a similar high to that from seeing others do well.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
So, and I love that. And I love your story too, because, we've heard like Brent Gove is very open about his story, about the fact that he was at the bottom, right? He had massive success at one point, but he was at the bottom, right? They were taking his house away. Right. One of his friends called and said, hey, I feel really bad, but I just got a call from the bank and they're coming to take your house and put all your stuff out on the curb, kind of a thing. Right. And so like he was, but it's, so it's that siren call of opportunity, but on the other side of it, you guys are succeeding at a high level. I know you were at a frustration point, but still, you weren't at a failure point. You were making what 99 point whatever % of the agents in the industry would love to make. So, so it's to be there. What the story is that it's, you had achieved, and just that level of success on its own, just selling houses. I don't mean to downplay selling houses. It's an incredible profession that we all get to do. But what I mean is that alone and succeeding at high level, you get there and you go, there's got to be something more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
and
cool.
When we joined EXP, we made a decision as a couple of what our lives wanted to look like, as we knew that selling homes at that level was not going to be the thing. And so when we joined EXP, just like when we did in real estate, was we looked at who are the most successful people back when we were selling homes, who was the most successful person in our market that was selling homes. And Mark would know. We have our mentors, Donna Rooney and Gary Cronin, in real estate sales, and we stuck on them like barnacles for the first many years. And they were our mentors. They didn't probably know it at the time, but they were our unofficial mentors. So when we joined EXP, it was late November 2018. And I thought, okay, in EXP corporate, who's the one? And so the one was at the time, Jean and Brent. And Brent happened to make a trip to Vancouver in March of 2019. And there was an event going on in Vancouver. So I jumped on a flight. Did you?
I didn't know.
And I jumped on a flight. I'm like, okay, this is it. I got to find my new attachment. And so I showed up. I flew in the morning on a 6:30 flight. I showed up at the hotel. I went to the breakfast restaurant at the hotel, and there was Glenn, Brent, Debbie, and two other people. I can't remember. And I walked in, and Brent, hey, are you with EXP? Come have breakfast with us. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I sat with Brent in my first 3 months of being at EXP at the breakfast table, and he casually said to me, so what do you want for your life? And I looked at him and I got a little choked in my throat. And I just said, I just want to be free. And he's like, you want freedom? You follow everything I say and blah, blah, blah. Brent, blah, 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 right? You follow me and I'll make sure you do everything I say. And the one thing about me is my superpower is being coachable. And I thought, there's my Donna and Gary. So I basically was stalking Brent. Again, he probably didn't know it, but I attended for 1.5 years every single YouTube thing, every Zoom, every meeting, I did not miss. And every single event for 4.5 years we attended, and I just did what he said. And I used his language and I put on the events, and And that's how we built our revenue share. It was basically off following someone that was as successful as we wanted to be.
I love that. I love that. So you followed the same model in agent attraction as you did in your sales. You found someone who you wanted to replicate their success, and then you studied them like crazy. And it's the old R&D, right? Rip off and duplicate, right? Which is the best way to do it. You know, success leaves clues. It's a, you know, saying's been around for a long time. And so you find people that are doing it and study it, learn it. You know, in that process of, first you memorize it, and then you internalize it, and then you customize it, and then you capitalize, right? So that process, and a lot of people try to customize it first. Right. And, before study it, learn it, really understand how other people are succeeding, and then you can make it your own and go from there. I love that. I love that.
And I can, Dave, before you get to the next part, I'll really validate what Simone said here, because even back in the real estate days, her coach, Mike Ferry, would say, you're like a dog with a bone, you just can't get that bone out of the mouth. Like once she latches onto something, she is go for it. And so when she like rev share and EXP and she heard about it, she's like, okay, I'm all in. I'm going 100% into this. That was her mindset. And then when she studied Brent and, this tenacity of, I'm more analytical. So I'm like the thinker, right? So I'm more, well, I wonder if this, and I wonder if the number, I'm more analytical. So I break things down, chew on the numbers and all of that kind of stuff. She is just like, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And blind faith is the word of the day with her. She is 100%. What do I do? Brent goes, lunch and learns. I'm like, well, do lunch and learns really work? What's the cost? What do you do? How do you book the halls? She's like, let's just book it. Let's just do it. And she would book the dates. She would book the halls, not knowing anything else.
Yes.
And we would just run lunch and learns. And yeah, nobody showed up sometimes. Sometimes a few people showed up. Sometimes one person showed up. We had lunch for 8 and one person, and we had this big spread, and we'd introduce them to EXP and bring them in, and she was just blind faith, just did it without question. And that is a superpower for sure.
It's very assertive for a Canadian.
Yeah.
All right. So Rory threw out a question in here. How did you guys go about determining whether you were recruiting agents as solo, not associated with your team, versus building your team?
Yeah, we didn't have a real estate team, and we never have. We always operated as the Simone and Pablo group or whatever. And we decided that what I first did was just like in sales, Mike Ferry taught me, was to go to your PCCOI, right? You go to your sphere first. So I just started reaching out to everybody in my sphere, all the agents that I knew, that I did deals with. The first thing I did was have our VA create a list for me of every single deal dating back to 2010. So at that time it was 8 years worth of deals. Every single agent I had ever done a transaction with. So who was on the other side of the deal? And I was a prospector. I was a telephone prospector. I spent years in a little room with a phone attached to me. And so I just started calling those agents, and I'd be like, hey, Dave, it's Simone Rousseau calling. I don't know if you remember me, but we did that deal back in 2011 on 123 Home Street. Do you happen to remember that deal? Remember, I think my client was Smith. I don't know what your client's name was. And they go, oh yeah, it was the Joneses. Yeah, right. So I would use that script, and I went through a couple hundred agents and just prospected them. And from that, I think I attracted our first maybe 5 to 7 agents. And it was a hard go at the time, but that's what I did. I just spent my time prospecting and working the agents that knew me, and that even if they didn't remember me, I would use a connection that I had. So I would say that if you're looking to start, here's the other thing is EXP is brand new. Like the RevShare 2.0 is off the charts exciting.
Yes.
And I would consider this our November of 2018. It's given us new life in the whole view of things. But anyone that is still wondering, hey, I wonder if I should, am I too late? I'm at EXP now and I haven't done it yet. Just line in the sand. This is RevShare 2.0. Create your list of everyone you've ever done a deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't create it, hire a VA to create a list for you and go back and just start calling all those agents.
Yeah. I mean, so I think people have presented the different ways that they've built their revenue share organizations, how they've attracted agents over the years and that sort of thing. But to a person, everyone has said, create your list, right? And we heard bang from Brand and from Gene and everything else like that. They got 18, 19,000 people in their organizations. So yeah, I'm kind of sensing that making a list is a good starting point for anyone.
Might be a good starting point. Yeah.
I'm going to throw that out there, right?
Out there.
So you guys just, just underscoring that again, make a list. So again, I just want everyone, to just take a second and go, all right, every single person that you guys are all here. You're here because you want to hear from people to understand how to go achieve the success that they've had, the R&D, right? Make a list. So please.
I think a lot of people fear doing that because they fear having that business to business call with another agent and coming off as a recruiter or a spammer. I had the same hesitation when I became a realtor. And I remember my coach saying, don't be a secret agent, let everybody know that you're an agent. But I felt kind of weird phoning up people that I knew, friends, family, et cetera, kind of saying, hey, I'm a real estate agent. If you ever need somebody, it's like, well, oh, great. Now you just want, my business, right? I thought we were friends and now so I think we all had that same hesitation with real estate. And yeah, you're going to get some colleagues that are going to go, quit bothering me with this spam shit. I've heard about this already 100 times from people, and quit trying to recruit me and all that kind of, you're going to get some of that, but is it worth it? Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, we're salespeople. This is what we do.
So what's the mindset shift? Right? Because you said like you were uncomfortable with it at first, right? And then, in real estate sales, and then again, stepping into this to call the agents. So what's the mindset shift that needs to happen so that you get comfortable with it?
Yeah. Like for me personally, because I made a ton of calls, I was sweating behind the scenes when I made calls. I was trembling. I had to even dialing the number, and I'm sure everyone can relate to this. I still go through that. That hasn't changed. The only thing I have to do is dial the phone and start the conversation and know that it's not for everyone. I'm not for everyone, right? Yeah. And I'm just looking for the small percentage of people that will have the conversation and maybe want to listen. And I got really beat up. I got beat up for years, but guess what? Now we are free. So you're going to take some punches. So take punches for 3 to 5 years, and then you're going to live a life of your dreams. Yeah. Guaranteed.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing is, right? They can, I've heard the whole thing about it, but it's kind of like choose your suck. Right? It's like, if you're uncomfortable where you are, and the reason you want to do something is because you're trying to get to another place, get out of the pain, right? I have a whole chart on this, a whole graph, and I do it actually for building a real estate sales business and building a team and all of those things where, you can choose being on this side or this side. Right. And so if you go, look, if I'm not going to attract agents or anything else, but I want to achieve this amount of success, I've got to do it all through my real estate sales. Okay, that's fine. If you say like, I would like to move myself out of the real estate sales and just get into agent attraction, make money that way, that's fine too. And if you want to do both, that's fine too. But either way, you have to go through the middle to get there. And so the middle is the most painful part. Right. And so like Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going. Right? Like don't stop in the pain point and just wallow in it, right? Go through it. So make the calls. I know, I made over 60,000 cold calls, agent attraction cold calls to grow brokerages, over 60,000 dials to talk to people. And, and you learn a lot of those times. And I still, same as you, when I go to call someone I don't know, I still get you get the butterflies in your stomach, right? When you go to make those calls, I still get 60,000 calls. I've heard everything, and you get mostly good responses, but I've had some really creative, negative responses. But But at the end of the day, if you want the outcome, you can either choose to sit and constantly like bang your head against the ceiling, which is painful all the time, and you always wish that you were there, or you could have a moment of pain, which it's not going to be as painful as you think it's going to be ever, right? But that moment of pain and then the freedom on the other side. So talk a little bit, if you would, about whatever you guys want to share, but how's your life different now that you have shifted that focus and done whatever, like what's the change? Because I want people to go like, what's on the other side of the electric fence? What's worth running through the little Zappa for a second for? Tell us.
You know, I think we were like that, Wilson, you know, we were always looking over the fence at the neighbors, thinking that must be nice. We grew up and, well, I grew up and we lived in Calgary, Canada, where Mark, I think, is living, and great city. It would be the equivalent of Denver in the US. And, you know, probably the biggest problem with Denver and Calgary is that it actually has a true winter where it snows and it gets really cold, really, really cold. And we always, just personally, we always dreamed of being somewhere warmer, and we kind of attempted to relocate to Puerto Rico a couple of years ago, but the US immigration process is just a hassle. So we landed here in Vancouver, Canada. We figured it's the best place in Canada to be. It's easy to be here. We right next to the ocean, and it's fantastic. And we've got some amazing agents. We live a few houses away from Randy Dick and Michael Ireland and a few other great people here who we network with and get to have coffee with from time to time. And it's unbelievable how our life has changed. You know, I discovered pickleball and Simone was playing tennis, and you know, I'm in the best shape I've been in my life. Yeah, we're healthy, we're happy, we're, you know, in love with our lives and each other's, and so it's a blast.
Yeah, one thing we did was our kids are 2 years graduated high school now. So 2 years ago, we had in Calgary, we had a great life. We had the cars, the house, the clothes, the cleaner, the cook that would come in and help us. Like we had again, from the outside, it looked really awesome.
It was a baller life.
Yeah, but with that came a lot of, well, gosh, just you had to pay for it, and you had to keep, you know, you had to keep growing. You had to keep, even with rev share, right? So what we decided to do was, when our one daughter had just graduated and the other daughter was still in her 12th grade, just finishing high school, we decided to sell every single possession that we owned. Everything.
The only things we could keep had to fit in a suitcase.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we
had to be very selective.
We each had a large
How big of a suitcase did you have?
Yeah. Large suitcase and a carry-on, and we sold like
we didn't put stuff in storage. It was couches are gone, lamps are gone, cars are gone, garage. I had a buddy come over. I had the dream garage with the flooring and the nice cabinets and every tool you'd ever want. And he came in, he goes, "How much for everything?" I said, "Just like, you know, give me this." And he went, "Sure, great." And he came with his truck and he loaded all my garage into his truck. And I talked to him the other day. He's like, "I've still got it all packed on the side there. I haven't even unpacked it." Yeah, great. So you got all my junk now.
So what we ended up doing was deciding to, we got our kids, we rented them a house because we also sold our house. We sold, like, Pablo's a car guy, or at least he used to be. Yeah. And we sold the cars, we sold the little convertible and everything gone. And then we decided to travel to figure out where we might want to live in our lives. And we ended up in Puerto Rico for, I think, about 5 months. Yeah. And again, talk about being close to people that you want to learn from. So we, you know, we're hanging out with Gene in his house in Puerto Rico.
I remember the first day we're like, I wonder if we'll see any of the EXP-OGs there. And we went from our place the very first morning. We went out for a walk along the ocean, and we're walking along the ocean. I look into the distance and I say to Simone, "The guy looks a lot like Gene Frederick." Simone's like, "Nah." And
He walks the beach
You know
every
it.
morning.
We run into Gene Frederick on the beach, shoeless, and chat with him for 45 minutes. It was amazing.
Yes, cool.
What a great
So
opportunity.
we had that amazing experience, and then we realized, no, we're Canadians. We should be back in Canada. You know, there's a few really great advantages, like our family lives here and our kids were young and we left them, kind of thing. So we looked at the map of Canada and thought, where's the best place to live in Canada? We picked White Rock, BC, which is where we are, and we ended up reestablishing our house. So we, you know, if we needed a can opener, we had to reorder and repurchase a can opener. So we rebuilt only the things that we wanted.
It's amazing how intentional you become about what you buy when you get rid of everything.
Yeah,
that's right.
So now we're well equipped, and the way our life has changed is our whole perspective on stuff, our whole perspective on being the ability to be mobile in life, and how easy it is to just be with people anywhere across the globe.
Yeah.
I mean, for us to now just pick up and
We could relocate in a day. Tomorrow we could be in another place.
Yeah. So, you know, and then the freedom, the mental health, I can't stress, because if I go back and look at who we were back in early 2015 and throughout 2015, 16 and 17, it was pretty dark. That it sucked. It really sucked. And now mentally we have a lot less of everything. We actually have less money, but we don't need the big bucks anymore to live this just super epic life with each other.
Yeah.
You got freedom, right? You have, there's enough to have money freedom and time freedom. The problem with the other side of it is that you achieve money freedom, but you know, money freedom is a funny thing. Right? So if you don't have time freedom, then you have to leverage your time all the time, and leveraging your time costs money. So then you spend a lot more to get the leverage that you need, and then you don't have the same money freedom that you'd have, right? It's interesting how all that works. If you look at like celebrities and you're like, oh, they make all this money and everything else, and you go, yeah, but they have like bodyguards and, you know, like they have to pay for all these other things that lifestyle requires. So it's, so the beauty of this is the money freedom and the time freedom, which goes together. So, you know, in pursuing that, you know, one of the things that people talk about, and I think it creates some call reluctance for people, is that, you know, you get the reputation like EXP and some of the other companies, and it's like, oh, they're just about recruiting. It's all, you know, it's like, oh, you're another EXP agent calling me. The reputation out there being, you know, whether it's pyramid scheme or whatever, we don't hear that as much because it's become more common, but you know, just the concept of recruiting, and you just see some of the snarky comments on Facebook or whatever, like, oh, you should sell more houses and do whatever. Like, why are you going to focus on this?
That's why we don't look at Facebook anymore.
Right? But the freedom of what you're building, what I want people to understand is they build a sales business, and they talk to other agents and stuff, and that focus on helping other people be successful and what that is, and pouring into other people and helping them build. Why focus on this? Like, what, you know, because people say, all right, I'm selling houses. I feel like if I take away my time from building my sales business and put effort into this, like I could just go sell more houses. Why would I do that? So what kind of answer do you have for someone? They go, why wouldn't I just sell more houses?
I have to go back to my original meeting at that breakfast table with Brent in Vancouver. And what he said to me, he says, how many homes do you sell this year? And I try to imitate Brent. I'm not that good. How many homes do you sell this year?
Let me turn the camera around here. I gotta show
I said, well, we sell, like last year, we sold 102 homes. And he says, okay, what I want you to do in your first year this year in 2019, I want you to sell 80 homes. I want you to, and I'm like, Brent, no, like, you don't understand. I usually increase by 20%. That's been the plan since 2012, right? You keep increasing, No, I want you to sell only 80 homes, and I want you to attract 7 agents. I'm like, well, 80 homes sounds actually pretty fun. I don't know what this 7 agent thing means, because I was so new and fresh. And what I did was I checked in with him 6 months later. It was June of 2019, and I had the 7 agents. So what do? I texted Brent, because he did say to me, hey, and if you ever need anything, text me, call me anytime. I'm here for you. You know, well, a lot of times people don't text and call the people that offer that. I did. And I called him in June and I said, I have 7 agents and I'm halfway through the year. Like, what do I do next? He goes, okay, your goal is not 80 homes. How many homes have you sold so far? And I said 36. He says, okay, your new goal for this year is not 80, it's 50. I'm like, get out of here. So I thought, okay, this doesn't work mathematically because we have bills. And I needed to sell 80 homes in order to cover our life, right? We were living this awesome life, supposedly. So what we had to do was we had to have a family meeting. We call it a family meeting. And we need to figure out where are we going to cut our expenses in our household and in our business so we could only sell 50 homes. And what the marching orders were that you're not going to attract 7 agents, you need to attract 15 agents. So he increased so the teeter-totter started to shift, right? I used to be sales here, 0 rev share. And he started to work with me over a year and a half to do this. Then eventually he said, he called it the 5-year plan. Well, it wasn't the 5-year plan. It was actually the 2.5-year plan where I was able to step out of real estate sales, both of us, and just continue to build the rev share.
Yeah.
So it took reducing expenses, releasing deals, like not always going after the deals, and really having blind faith that this whole thing could work.
Yeah. So where are you guys now? Talk to us about like what's your org size and how many people and how many agents in your front line?
So we have 27 FLAs.
Okay.
We have 19 FLQAs. We have 404 agents in our group. And honestly, in the last year, we've pretty much had 0 growth. And the big reason for that is because we've been spending a lot of time on the pickleball court.
I'm okay.
I'm really good now, though. I'm really
okay with
good
that.
at it.
Yeah, he's working on, got to be a 4.5. And, so now we're paying for pickleball and tennis. But so that's where we're at.
Love it. Okay, awesome. And I think that's really important because we look at the Jeans and the Brents and all that kind of stuff. And, after all their years and all their other stuff like that, 16, 15, even whatever. Okay. You guys, you said 400 and change?
Right? Yeah.
Okay. So at 400 and change, achieving financial freedom, right, is incredible. I know like both your daughters just spent an extended time, whether in Barcelona, they were in Spain, like living over there, right? I mean, like, so, you're not talking about, you're living in a beautiful, like resort like area in a really beautiful part of Canada. I mean, you're not talking about living a small life. You're talking about living a big life and having fun and doing the things that you want to do and having that freedom. And, so I just like a lot of times people that we look out there and we go, oh, I got to get to, I got to get to 19,000. Like it's going to take me 1,000,000 years. Right. And you go, hey, in 2.5 years, you could be, at 400, the numbers are significant, right? They're significant and they are consistent. The income from revenue share, that opportunity is big. And plus you're adding in stocks for all those people as you're bringing people in and stuff too. And you also, what'd you say, 27 FLAs?
Yeah.
So 27 FLAs. So you're not talking about, going out and recruiting 500 people. Like this is a thing I wished I had known about back at of course it didn't exist then, but when I was making 60,000 cold calls, right, I recruited thousands of agents directly. If I had put thousands, can you imagine if thousands of people on your front line, right? But I was doing it for a system where the payout was so much smaller that it didn't matter nearly as much. So that opportunity, you don't have to be out there recruiting like crazy. I mean, a good listing agent, we have a really good listing agent. Rory, how many listings you take a year? I know there's no inventory right now, so it's hard to get listings, but give us a ballpark.
Less than normal.
What's a great year for you for listings?
60 to 75, somewhere in that range.
There you go. That's awesome. And he's in a nice price range area as well. So all right, so that's a year. So you guys over the last couple of years have attracted like half, right, of what Rory is out there as a top listing agent is going for his entire year, and you guys have done half of that spread out over several years.
Yeah, and
So
some have left, right? Like we
Sure.
we had more, but some have left, and there's
Yep.
been competitors pop up, and we're dealing with that just like everybody else is. But the great news is for us, all that competition is a validation that the model works, that it's all moving that direction, and we welcome it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so, but the effort in to go get one listing, like, right, even if someone calls you and says, come list me, the amount of work that you had to put in to get the relationship, the trust, the brand recognition, and everything else for your phone to ring. And if your phone's not ringing, to go out and get listings and to do the marketing and to build the relationships and to ask for the business and do all of those things, the amount of work that it takes to get one listing.
Yeah.
Right? And then people go, oh, I'm afraid to go get one agent. But when you need, a third, a fifth, a whatever of as many agents as you need listings every year to, within short order, replace your income from real estate sales, it still baffles me sometimes that people don't put in that effort. They go, I can go sell another house. I'm like, yes, but you're going to have to sell that house again every year and a whole bunch more.
I took this video, and it was September 2nd of 2020, I believe. And we were at an EXP for about a year and a half, and I went into an appointment, and a listing appointment, and I knew I was trying to exit real estate sales. That was the ultimate goal, because that's what Brent had coached me on, unofficially coached. And I went into that listing appointment, and it was in Beddington. This is for reference for Mark. It was in Beddington. It was an attached home. It was a bi-level. I walked in there.
Let's just say it wasn't the nicest neighborhood, and it wasn't the nicest, most luxurious home.
And I walked in there. It was hot. It was a hot September day. And I walked in there and did my listing thing. And they wanted the price to be higher, the commissions to be lower, and they wanted this and they wanted that. And something went off in my brain. And I said to myself, this is it. This is it. So I left them with their listing. I went into my car, I recorded myself, and I just said, Simone, that is the last listing appointment you will ever go on. You will never need to negotiate your value again. You will never need to convince people of what their price of their home is. You are done. And that was the last listing appointment I ever went on. Wow. And then we pulled the plug on being active in sales. And that's really kind of was the line in the sand of going all in. And we created the plan of being free.
Awesome. So that's amazing. I love that. So how much time do you spend on building your revenue? Like during your ramp up time initially, like when you said, all right, we're going, like we're diving in, kicked your shoes off and dove in, right? How much time did you spend on it then? And now consistently, how much do you need are you spending to keep things rolling?
Okay, let's talk about back then, because it sounds a lot better. Back then, I had to work 2 jobs. So Pablo now I don't want to undermine anything that Pablo does. Pablo does actually everything. And he makes me look like I'm a rock star, because I don't ever have to worry about all the things, the business items that it takes for me to have the flexibility to go out and prospect for 4 hours a day, right? All I had to do was go in a room and prospect. So what I did personally was I had to go to listing appointments and call, say, 2 hours a day so I had to prospect for listings, and then I had to call and go on listing appointments and talk to agents. And that would probably be about, I'd say 4 hours a day of prospecting, like actual prospecting. And then it would probably be an 8-hour day, like of work. So, but I had 2 different roles. behind the scenes, Pablo was working on
We're building out
everything else.
onboarding systems and checklists and working with the VAs and creating all the systems that needed to happen, training stuff for new agents coming in. And yeah,
You did everything
did a
else.
lot of
Everything.
other work. Yeah.
And then, so we did that together for a couple years. And then once we moved, we've been able to really ramp down. I don't sell anymore. Right now I have an amazing group of tennis ladies that I hang out with, like 100 plus women. So sometimes they're like, Simone, do you want to list my home? And I'm actually considering, because it's pretty easy for me to take on a listing or two. I mean, I could do it in my sleep. So I might start to do that. And the average price where we live is pretty high. But building the rev share right now for us, both of us, is having conversations with our current agents and supporting our current agents in whatever they need. And a lot of times what they need is more just emotional. Yeah. My life is crashing. Simone, can you jump on the call with me? And the answer is like, yeah. So we spend, I'm going to say, an hour a day each. Like you coach a lot of agents, like, he doesn't get paid for the coaching, but he mentors a lot of agents. But basically we're available for them anytime for anything they need. As long as I'm not on the court playing, I'm available. So we just keep doing that for our agents. And then my goal right now that we have RevShare 2.0, I'm going to get back on the saddle is my plan. I'm going to get back onto prospecting. I'm going to do what I know works. And my plan is to grow our group to 600. I figure it'll take probably another 12 months to add 200 agents. And how would I do that? I need to engage my current agents or our current agents and support them more, and then work on adding more frontline agents myself. So the vision is starting to shift. I mean, you can only be on the tennis court so long. So now I'm ready to get back to work.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, it becomes a little bit like, I don't know, spinning a basketball on your finger, right? You have the original, spin it up, do whatever, and spin, 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 spin. You're doing the work to keep it going, get the balance, get the other stuff. But once it's balanced and spinning, it's just every once in a while, you're spinning it again, right? I mean, it's not a consistent, that's the nice thing, that inertia takes over and it starts to move. And that's when it really gets to be fun. I mean, even if you enjoy prospecting, the joy is in helping other people find success. So when you start to get to support and coach and help your the agents in your group go build success and find the freedom, it's like, hey, I ran out here. I found the path to freedom. Everyone's going through all the different tunnels trying to find their way out. You found the way out. You run back in and you go gather everyone and be like, come on, guys, I found it. Follow me. And that's
the vision. That's what I mean, I just think, where's the next Simone and Pablo that are dying on the vine, selling a ton of homes. And at our age, like, Pablo's a lot younger than I am, but I'm 54. Well, you are a lot. I'm 54, and I'm like,
he's 27. So
yeah, he's on the cradle. So where's the other older agents out there that have been grinding for years that could have this ticket? Right? Those are the conversations that I know I'm really able to have with people. And and it doesn't come from because we want to build our rev share and make more money. That's nice. That'll happen. It's going to happen regardless. There's people out there that need saving. And so it's time to go get them.
So if there's an agent here who's watching and they have not achieved the level of success in sales that you guys achieved, right? They were not selling at that level, but they know of someone in their market who is who was there, who's selling at a really high level, but sometimes you can tell, right? Sometimes you can tell. It's like the lifeless look in the eyes of, like, the joy's gone out, but there's no way out. It's like a life sentence, right? It's this thing. And it's not that you hate it. It's just when you don't see the path out and the path to leverage and everything else. And it's like, gosh, have all the things, but I'm working so hard And when I talk to top agents, it's usually I would like to slow down in what I'm doing, but I would like to not decrease my income. So,
Mhm.
you know, how do I do that? They seem to both fall at the same time. How do you drop one and not drop the other, right? And they don't see the path forward. So I guess two-part question on this to wrap up our time here. One is, how do you get their attention to get them to listen? Because a lot of times they go like, yeah, I've heard about, I'm not recruiting. I don't want to recruit. I feel like they're lowering that. Like, I'm a top agent. I don't want to be a recruiter. Like, that'll make me, ugh. And then, and then on the other side, and the last question would be, well, here, I'm going to hold that. Answer that first. Then I'll ask you one last one.
Yeah, you just got to make a decision, right? And I always go back to, in real estate, if I think I'm a great agent and I don't let people know about me and my services, they may work with an agent that doesn't do a great job for them. And when I think of going out and recruiting agents, I think about, they might be struggling. They might be having a tough time of things. And they might think, all this hoo-ha and the EXP and all these companies and all this stuff is a big smoke and mirrors show, but it's really done a lot for me. And it's done a lot for my family. And so could it do the same for them? It's up to them. I'm not going to change other people's lives, but I'm going to give them at least the opportunity to change their own lives.
Yeah. So how do you get their attention though? You can sense they're there.
Yeah.
And you don't have your own story yet. And you're like, you need to hear about this. I feel like this would be so great for you.
Yeah.
How do you,
Well,
like what
you
gets
just
them?
follow what Brent says. Like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's the third party validation, right? I leaned on every leader. Dave, you picked up the phone for me many times. And so if you don't have the story, you want to connect them with someone that does.
Mhm.
And I actually built a little list of about 12 or 15 people where I knew their story, agents at EXP, leaders, people that I looked up to, that I built a relationship with them. That's why I went up to all those events, is I made sure I was in the right rooms and I met the right people, because and they offered to leverage. Everyone here on this call now knows Pablo and I, and our phone numbers are in work chat, right? If you click the little I, our phone numbers are there. Call us. If you need us to speak to any of your agents, it's like a beautiful dance that happens, and I'll help you recruit your agents for you and give them the gift.
That's awesome. That was my last question. So you already answered. I was like, hey, so can people put you on their list of someone they've got, right? And so if you don't have the story yet,
Yeah.
You said it beautifully, Simone, use someone else's, right? That third party validation. Here's the thing, even if you have it, depending on the relationship, sometimes it's too close.
Yeah.
So, that you tell yours and like, yeah. So hearing it from, no matter where you are, no matter how successful you are, no matter whatever, like I said, I've built business, I've done all this kind of stuff in real estate, I've recruited a ton of people, and then I'll go like, you need it, whatever. And people are like, yeah, but that's you. And they just, but they hear it from someone else and they say the exact same thing on the call. And they're like, that was brilliant. So that third party validation is huge, but if you don't have your own story yet, leverage someone else's. And now you have these guys who have that story. So if you know someone where this story you think would resonate with them, right? And you just say, listen, something like, I really feel like this would be something amazing for you and your life. And I really want you to hear it. If I could connect you with some friends of mine who I feel like just have such a parallel story and they've been able to find incredible freedom and success, would you be willing to take a listen? Right. And that's it. It's just a quick invitation. They can be like, no, I'm not really interested. Okay. Don't give up, keep dripping on them, keep offering and that kind of stuff. But find different people with great stories and then make a great match.
Yeah, Dave, I have to say this too, and I want to go right back to where I started. Was Brent was the rah man and mentor in my life, but Dave, you were the technical sergeant. because I was on every single leader call that you were putting on for all of us. Remember the Zeta, Beta, Alpha?
Oh yeah.
And your technical knowledge of being able to coach people on how to build and recruit. I've copious notes of you speaking and teaching. So if I was new at this, or if I was going to be reborn in RevShare 2.0, which I am, I'd be plugging into, and I'd be stalking Dave as well. And these podcasts are amazing to be able to, you don't need to hire a coach. You can just follow and go all in and follow what you're doing. So the things you've just brought up again, remember the lifeboat story that you tell? Oh my God, like that changed my life, that lifeboat story.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Good. Well, it's, that's what it's all about, right? When we learn something, we find the path, we go, it's no good if you find the path and you get through and you're out on the, into freedom, but you're there alone. It's not very fun. So go back and bring other people with you is where the real joy comes from. Man, all right. So this hour went super fast. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for, getting up super early on the West Coast and hanging out with us and sharing your path. You can see the hardest working member of our team here on the floor. There's Lexi. Watching her, she's been stretching, just chilling. Guys, you're awesome. Thank you again. It's so good. Everyone watching, if you don't know them, you've got some new friends, here at EXP with an incredible story, and they've been through it. So hopefully this has been a great inspiration for you guys.
The best way to reach us is via Simone in work chat. So if you're trying to get a hold of us or you want to reach out or whatever, just look up Simone Rousseau in work chat. It's the French spelling, Rousseau. And we're happy to help.
Fantastic. Guys, thanks again. I appreciate it. We'll be talking again soon. Pablo, you and I will be talking again very soon. Excited.
Yeah.
Pickleball, baby. All right, guys, have an awesome weekend. It's a holiday weekend, so enjoy. Hopefully you get a little bit of either everyone's in town and you're going to show a ton of property and sell a lot of houses this weekend, or you get a chance to relax here on the Mid-Atlantic. We're going to eat some crabs. So appreciate you guys. Thanks again.
Dave. See
Have
you,
an awesome
everyone.
weekend. So good to see you.
Thanks, everybody.